That's the bell. That's the bell. That's the bell. Hope you can hear me clearly. You in the championship rounds with King Amin of Essex, moderated by Jay. We in round 11, brother. Round 11. We done made it. What's going on, King? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I just fell out of Instagram prison, man. This whole spectacle, man. I got caught up. You know, just like they say, you go to California, come on vacation, leave on probation. You know what I'm saying? Damn spectacle got me caught up, man. So I was kind of missing some of the social media reaction to all of that. But other than that, man, everything's pretty good, man. I'm feeling good, man.
Well, we're going to catch everybody up on what's been going on. Obviously, here on the championship rounds, we talk about boxing news, everything in between. So being that we do that, why don't you catch everybody up on what you've been doing? Obviously, we know you've been blogging. So we want to remind everybody where to kind of see your blog, where they first heard you, and talk about, your kind of new venture that you adding to the list of things you're doing. So talk a little bit about that before we get into it.
Yeah, so definitely everybody knows me knows that the Boxing Voice is definitely a great community where you can get it off your chest. Sometimes you can have a relationship with this sport, but not have a relationship with people where y'all have, the forum to talk about it. So many years ago, I stumbled upon the Boxing Voice, call it of the year for 2017. And now I have the privilege of being a co-host and correspondent. My main focus is on the flagship shows, which are Thursdays and Sunday nights between 7 until whenever. And I'm over there, man. The King is over there, return home, and I'm honing my craft. So, you catch me in both spots. Definitely don't forget the blog on Instagram. It's definitely doing what it's supposed to do. So y'all come and check me out.
So there you go. What we expect, right? Definitely, our own Essex County's own, boxing, expert extraordinaire. We're getting that free game, and just so that we could say it again. That's Thursday and Sunday nights at 7:00.
Absolutely, on YouTube, the Boxing Voice YouTube channel.
All right, and we can always catch you on your blog, correct?
Absolutely. I'm on Instagram, King Amin of Essex 1. Also, King Amin of Essex 1 on YouTube. Where y'all watching this right now? Y'all know what it is.
All right, no doubt. So, without further ado, we're going to get into it. We know why the people, tune in to hear what they want to hear your opinion about. So let's start off, what we've called entertainment. We've called it a spectacle. We've called it a whole bunch of things, Jake Paul, Floyd Mayweather, it finally happened, 8 rounds of action. We knew we weren't going to get a winner or a loser. We got this build up. We know who Mayweather is coming in, Money May. We know Jake Paul has made his name on YouTube. So, it was mixed opinions and results depending on who was watching. But, people was tuning in to find out what your thoughts are. So in terms of the entertainment, we know we're not really analyzing too much of the technical boxing aspect of it. But let's start with the entertainment value. What did you think of the fight in general?
Well, as far as the entertainment value, I'm gonna go a couple ways with it. From what I hear, because of course, El Chapo, the Boxing Voice, Nestor Gibbs, he was on site. He was there. He was in the building for that event, and he said it was very lively and the turnout was cool. Okay. I'm also going to say that the undercard. The undercard was good. I enjoyed the undercard a little bit more than most people might have. I was really anticipating Ocho. So yeah, as far as entertainment value, there was some things that I saw that kept me engaged. But the undercard, I mean, truthfully, by the time you get to the undercard, the sail is out. The wind is out of my sail because I know what's going to happen. There's no way that I think that there's any chance of an upset.
All right, I definitely understand that. So let's talk about. I got some questions about the main event, but let's talk about Chad Johnson versus Brian Maxwell. There was a knockdown in the 4th. So how did you, you give Chad Johnson credit, obviously, for coming back from that? How do you think he handled that knockdown? What did you think about what he showed in the ring for what it was worth?
It was a fight. That was the fight.
Okay.
Because he was landing pretty good and he looked raw. I mean, again, I don't think anybody anticipated he was going to come in there, you know, but he looked raw, but he was landing and he could move.
Mm-hmm.
And he's particularly tall for, you know, definitely for a boxer. So you figure dude 6'4", 6'5", you know, but not a heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? Kind of tall, skinny. So he's moving a little, you know, some people think it's awkward, but he was moving. And he was hitting Maxwell with some decent joints. Both of them had what I call contemplative power. Hit you hard enough to make you think about some shit, right?
Okay.
And then Ocho, he landed a good shot. But that's what got him caught, because when he was coming back on the return, he had his hand down and he pulled straight back.
Okay. And
Maxwell just caught him. So really, even in when he, you know, got knocked down, he landed a good shot, you know. But again, throw Maxwell's record out the window. I remember you asked me Emmanuel Char and Lovejoy. Throw Char's a record out the window. The guy that has more experience when it comes to boxing, the guy that has spent longer mastering his trade, he has the advantage, and that's what we saw. Maxwell had the advantage because he's the professional.
Right. Well, you know, we got to give Ocho credit definitely for surviving, for
all
getting
the credit,
and for, you know, taking the fight seriously, of course. Just in terms of your general thoughts, do you think the entire package, what was presented, do you think that was worth the money? What do you think the people thought about it? Just in terms of what was kind of put out there?
It's difficult to ask somebody like me that kind of question, because I understand the people that are gonna tell me, but it's $30 million for 20 minutes, and all he had to do was shit a brick of butter. You know, if that's what it means to you, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I get it, but I watched it because it was free, in a way. You know what I'm saying? I had an opportunity to watch it, you know, for free. So I would never pay for something like that. I would never pay for something like that. Could never pay for something like that. Would never, could never.
Well, listen, under ordinary circumstances, I wouldn't ask you about this, but, you know, it's been in the news. People have been talking about it. So it's been some conspiracy theories floating around about, you know, Floyd possibly holding up, you know, Jake Paul, my bad, you know, in the 8th, keeping him up. What did you think about that? Are we just talking about, is this adding to the kind of the myth and the WWE-ish of what this kind of entertainment, you know, vehicle is, or is there any truth to this? What you think when you heard about it?
I just did that for a reason, my brother, because where there's smoke, there is often fire. That's all I can say. I mean, the way it looks to me, it don't look like no other way.
Okay.
And then even that's more egregious. It's kind of gangster, but it's more egregious. It's like you knocked him out and held him up.
Well, it would only be egregious if, depending on where Floyd placed his bet, that would be the only thing that would make it egregious, because if he placed his bet, you know what I'm saying, you know, obviously not on the board, but just like, you know, that was going to go the distance, then yeah, you can't let him go to night on you, man. Gotta, you know what I'm saying?
But Jay, let me ask you a personal question, and I know this is familiar to you.
Yo.
How many times, you know, we done been in the throws and something, you know what I mean? A nigga coat, a nigga hat be on the floor, and he got to come over there, and you give him the dignity of holding him up in the way. He got to come and say, can I get take your hat, man.
Yo.
Pick your hat up off the ground.
Yo, but we talking about, I understand where I think you going with it, but we talking about a check. We talking about zeros, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of people that give a man a pass if it means a couple extra zeros, you know?
Well, but this is what I'm saying. For in the street, that's considered an honorable act. The fight was over. You allowed him. You didn't hurt him, right?
Right.
But on the opposite end of boxing, to me, as a hardcore, this hurt Floyd's legacy. So for you to hurt the guy and to not let him fall because you might have had a different interest in it removes it so far from the boxing that I need to happen. I can't invest in it.
I get what you're saying, but you got to see it that way with your eye. Like, I get it. You know what I'm saying?
When he hit it, I'm like, yo, if that's what happened again, I can't say because I ain't get hit like that. But if you just ask me what this looked like, I'm like, he held him up.
Okay.
And if he held him up, I'm like, damn, like you should at least given us the thrill of seeing the big man fall. You were so much bigger than him and was backing him down. Let us see him, but because you want to give him some dignity. Come on, man. Maybe it wasn't about the dignity. It was about extra money. So you gonna rob me?
I can't see it being about dignity. I'm sorry. I could see it being about
not allowing Logan to say, look, if I knock you out, you lose all your marketability. If I knock you out now, you lose all your marketability. I ain't gonna do you like that. So I'm gonna hurt you, but I'm not gonna. That I could understand. I'm not gonna appreciate it if that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
He robbed me. If you knocked dude out and held him up, because you should have at least allowed me to see that, right? That's going to the strip club and they do this in front of you. They never turn it around.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, it happened because of where he laid his bet down, allegedly. You know what I'm saying? That's wrong
on so many levels. And it got my Instagram account suspended. It's wrong on so many levels.
Yeah, man.
It's all wrong.
I know it's wrong, man. I would have did it too, though. You know what I'm saying? All right, so
I would have did it too, I suppose, but because I didn't do it, I have the right to complain.
Both would have did it too, man. I'd have been in Turks and Caicos with that money, man. All right, so on to the first real fight of the night. Highly anticipated, Clarissa Shields, two-time Olympic gold medalist, two-time undisputed champion. This is an MMA debut, right? So this was kind of talked about for a long time. She was fighting Brittany Elkin, brown belt in jiu-jitsu, right? So not a pushover, a worthy opponent. I heard a lot of opinions coming into this fight about what might happen. So this was a very entertaining fight. Obviously, Clarissa Shields won, but what did you think about coming into the fight? And then what did you think of the actual fight itself?
Well, I kind of can't talk about one without the other because with Clarissa Shields, remember we talked, she didn't have nowhere else to go. Savannah Marshall, is it? She's not small enough to get down to fight a Katie Taylor at 140 pounds. So Savannah Marshall at 168, I think she's fighting at, and they meet at 160. That's the best fight going. And then on top of that, Marshall, money-wise, would be the A side because there's not enough money in women's boxing in the United States. Clarissa Shields just put on a women's card out of pocket, so there's no respect. So she's going to go down as the most accomplished she's the greatest women's professional fighter in the history, right?
Right.
And for all of what she did in boxing, it just allowed her the ability. This one fight in MMA gave her the stardom that all of what she accomplished in boxing still never gave her.
Right. And I mean, you can see that with how they're talking about it, right? Like how the results of this fight, the clips is plastered all over the place. You know what I mean? I saw more articles about her kind of training with John Jones and Holly Holm, than a lot of the other fights she's been involved in, right?
Fights where she's moved up in unified belts or beat the undisputed champion in that division,
and this is, and she's kind of been accomplished for a long time, right? Like I remember us being at fights and seeing her, right? And you kind of telling me who she is, right? And what, in terms of what she's accomplished. So, it's crazy. But in terms of what we saw in the ring, listen, I was impressed. She had a little trouble early, as you would expect, in terms of the ground. You know what I mean? But she survived it, right? Because that's this is her first fight. So that's that real kind of world experience that you're only going to get in your first real fight.
And think about it.
And not only did she survive, but you saw how she was giving it up too. You understand?
Now think about it. When you saw her on the ground, this is what I took it as. When you start sparring, you're going to get punched in the face, so you better get used to it.
Right.
As a boxer, most people might have anticipated or assumed that she would not be comfortable on the ground.
Right, and that's
the first thing she had to know and do was get a comfortable feel for that at fight time.
Right.
To shake that off. You got to get punched in the face and then you calm down. So to be on her back and to get taken down, okay, this is what's going to happen in the course of MMA.
Yo, and bro, that's more so of what, I think I saw. Obviously I'm not an expert, but just in terms of just, being in that position before, in terms of just having a background wrestling, right?
Yeah.
That's an uncomfortable position for most people, especially people who are used to standing up, right? So that's what I kind of looked at it. Not even necessarily like she was losing, right? It was, you got to get comfortable, right? And the proof is in the pudding, because when she got that TKO, she was on the ground too, bro.
Yeah.
And, she would look very comfortable by that point. You understand what I mean?
And
so the proof is in the pudding. You feel me?
The way she splayed her hips to block, she was stuffing because old girl was trying to come over with and lock her leg and roll over and come out on top. And that hip strength, man, that truncular strength. And she probably, again, developed it from the boxing at the Olympic level. She's an Olympic athlete, man.
Exciting,
she ain't training just like anybody else. This ain't no chili boat. This isn't for real. She's the real deal. And not for nothing. She physically outmuscled a much larger opponent in a defensive posture. She maintained her technical defensive posture and then just teed off on her. It was beautiful. It was beautiful to see.
I mean, listen, and to be honest with you, in terms of, obviously, of course, you expect her to have the connection she does within the sport because of what she's accomplished in boxing, but to have the people that she's having who are at the level of they're at in their career now, with their hands kind of in her career in terms of MMA, all you can say is, you know what I mean, and the skill set she has, she's gonna have the best. She has a good shot at doing good things, and the good thing about it is she's gonna be able to make money financially, grow her brand, and showcase her boxing skills. You know what I'm saying?
Man, it's like boxing was her demo tape, man. Boxing was her mixtape, and this is her album, man. And I want her to get down with WWE. I want to see a big fight with Rousey down the line. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Like, I wanted to get every bag entitled to her. This is big for for Black women. I need to see that. Black women are fighters, man. Come on.
All right, that's a good thing, man. Good thing. So, what do you think is next for her? You think you'll see her next fight in the ring, or do you think it'll be an MMA, or what do you think? Just speculating.
If there's any fights in the ring that matter, like I said, I don't see. And I mean, because she looked physically fit too. Mm-hmm. And so if it's a fight in the ring, I'm thinking it could also be a fight in the octagon. There are a lot of female fighters out there that kind of they do both. So like Melissa Odessa, Holly Holm herself. I mean, they train. I want to necessarily see that. A Paige Van Zant, who's also done the bare knuckle thing and MMA. So you kind of could have these crossover fights that would make more sense than seeing, right? Because you're talking about crossover female fighters. You can find more comparable weight classes. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I could see her doing so much, man. I think it's all open, man. Like I said, Ronda Rousey, you could pull Misha Tate. Misha Tate's doing movies now, but pull her out of retirement. You know what I'm saying? Make a big mega fight, She's got a lot of upside, man. I'm proud of her.
All right. Well, definitely, had to cover that. And we always going to be looking out whenever her name is in the headlines or whenever she's fighting. We're going to definitely cover that because it's not only exciting, but it's worthy, right? So moving right along to another exciting homegrown fighter we've been talking about for a long time, Yahoo Sports, Shakur Stevenson, right? So Shakur Stevenson's getting ready to fight on Saturday. All right, he's getting ready to fight Jeremiah Nakathila, right? I don't want to mess up his name, but he's getting ready to fight Jeremiah N.
Yeah, okay? Nakathila.
All right, Nakathila. There we go. Ken, we need that. All right, so he's getting ready to fight him at the Virgin Hotel on Saturday. Yahoo, has Stevenson number 9 on their list of pound for pound best fighters. Yeah. So just what do you think of him as a young fighter? And then we'll kind of get into what he was kind of talking about in terms of Valdez down the line.
Yo, Shakur Stevenson has the potential to be the best. I mean, I would say there's 3-4 young fighters, and some of them are not so young anymore, but you're talking about just the guys, you know what I'm saying? And Shakur is right there. Like, he's right there. The only issue, the only concern, some people that might be more familiar with the sport, or the reason why he might not be making such a big splash. I mean, he's an Olympic level fighter, but he maybe hasn't made the spread to the mainstream audience a bit, is because the matchmaking over there at Top Rank. There's a lot of people that will say, when they should have been matchmaking him against Mexican fighters to bring him a broader audience, he didn't get those fights, you know, whether it's because Top Rank was trying to advance the careers of some of the other fighters, or maybe something didn't work out. Like, couldn't make the fight contract-wise. That being said, Shakur is moving up, and I think he'll continue to do so. So he's not going to sit around and wait for any fights, at least I don't believe. Every fight for him is going to be big because it's going to be televised. And as far as just technique, man, we need him on TV, because if I keep telling you about him, people are just going to think I'm just, making it up.
But what does he do well? What are some of the things he does well in the ring? What do you expect to see when he gets in the ring? What makes him exciting?
His his accuracy, his patience. Shakur is not going to go in there and blow you out with power, but he's very precise. Very precise. He can make his opponent miss, but he's very comfortable with standing in the pocket and just countering, catch and counter. He's just very good, man. He's very good.
All right, so just in terms of getting into this article, what we want to kind of get your opinion on is, they were kind of, Shakur was kind of talking about, he was kind of urging some of the younger fighters to kind of take, I guess the biggest fights, that they could take now, in the kind of in the vein of not ducking anybody and taking the most entertaining fights, right? And what they were kind of talking about was how Stevenson was front row for the Valdez fight. And kind of talking about down the line, I guess they're seeing Valdez as a opponent, for Stevenson kind of after, I think, the Herring fight, which might be after this one, right? Yeah. So we've talked about a bunch of times about the dangers, of looking past one opponent. Now we're kind of looking past two, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think? Do you think that's kind of too ambitious, that he's saying he wants Valdez and you might have two men standing in front of you before you get there? Is that too ambitious? Is that, has he earned the right to say that? Or, what's your position on that? Is that a worthy statement?
He shouldn't even be, he should be fighting Valdez. That's the problem. He should have fought Valdez already. But again, they're both on Top Rank. Uncle Bob, the Top Rank diet, cooking up that bullshit, and the fight didn't happen. Even he should have had the fight with Emmanuel Navarrete. Didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, come on, man. He's trying. And I think one thing I would say is that, yes, he's very ambitious. And the fighter absolutely needs to say that they got to take the fights. Because the reality is that that's not always going to happen. Okay. Because that's why you have, a manager, you got trainers, you got attorneys, you got whatever you got going on, and you may say, get me the fight. As a fighter, again, is ways if you feel strongly, and it depends on how strong your principle is. You could be out in the media say, yeah, man, this guy won't fight me. We done sent him contract. But you may have people around you to say, well, don't say nothing. We're going to get you a big fight. It's the biggest purse you ever made. Yeah, but the people don't know who the guy is. You don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? It was 1.2 million. Like, you ain't never gonna make. And you're not gonna say, again, you're not gonna say no. Right. You're not gonna say no to fight, make $1 million on ESPN against somebody nobody's ever heard of. He's a fighter, that. But the people, they're gonna say, I never heard of him. So, what are you gonna do? And you can tell the people, and that's what I think, that the fighters, they have that little small opportunity to just say, yeah, you know what, I want to fight anybody who's out there and name names, but it's kind of like rap, I guess. Sometimes everybody's too friendly. Yeah. Herring, but see, Shakur, from what I've seen, he always be different. Him and Herring is cool. They train together a little bit when they all rock out with Bud, but, Shakur want that fight with Herring. Ben wanted it. I don't know if, Jamal Herring want that fight, but, Shakur could have been had Valdez if Top Rank made him more of a priority.
Okay. Well, I mean, we can certainly understand kind of the delicate dance that they gotta kind of do between. Obviously, boxing is still a job, So.
Only reason I could say that, though, not to cut you, is because if I'm emphasizing the marketing, if you say I got a fighter like Shakur, that I'm using the young hip hop crowd, kind of like the same vein, Gervonta Davis, they kind of bring in that youth, right?
Right.
Shakur, he rolling with Jay Prince, so you're gonna assume that youth movement, he can bring that draw, right? He's gonna bring in the Northeast, right? New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Philly, right? The Olympic pedigree, right? If you're really trying to maximize that, you're gonna say, why not pair him with some kind of other audience? So it was trying to get him the Josh Warrington fight, so get him the UK audience. That didn't happen. Warrington ducked him. It was trying to get the Mexican audience. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It would always be in your best interest to say, hey, if I got what people consider a young, exciting fighter in Oscar Valdez, and I got a young, exciting fighter that people talking about, pound for pound, that's an exciting fight with two young, exciting fighters. How don't you? Oh, but no, not yet, because you want to move one around, make sure he get a belt, and then you tell one you're doing the best for him, and then you go out and you do better for this one, and then it's a game you got to play. But as a fighter, you're supposed to be aware of that. And again, I think you have the power to use the social media and use the media, and that's one thing that Teofimo did. You know what I'm saying? Teofimo, Top Rank, they tried to take a shit on. He still got to stand up to what he said and what he did, but you have to move the needle and say, I'll fight anybody. You know what I'm saying? And they got to pay me. I'll fight anybody my promoter pay me to fight. But if my promoter ain't paying me, I'll fight whoever anybody's paying me to fight.
Right. I mean, you gotta respect that, right? Because
definitely respect
that's
that.
The balance between that. They all trying to get that bag and create generational wealth, and then the love of the sport, right? So that's a delicate dance to walk. So we're gonna pay attention to that, of course. So, like we always do, we're going to go to school. It's the time for the ABCs, where we talk about kind of fundamental topic. So today we're going to talk about what goes into, a good boxing stance, So just in general, let's start out with what are some of the benefits of, a good boxing stance? What does that allow you to do, or how does it impact you in the ring if you got it or if you don't?
Man, if you don't being grounded and having a good stance, a good foundation before you even make your first move, to know how you can generate the strength from your legs and have to control your upper body from the hip, from the torso, your stance, you want to feel loose, but you also want to have a certain sense of uniformity and your stance and how you place your feet and hold your hands, that shape that creates the stance. That's where it's like having being on ready. So it's very important. It's the most important thing.
So one of the first things they were talking about is, I guess your posture in terms of standing sideways, in terms of your target. So is that important, and how is that important?
So just to try to make that a little bit more plain speak, you got to be facing what's in front of you without squaring up.
Okay.
What I mean by that is I'm sitting in this chair, y'all, shoulders, I'm squared up, right? If you're a fighter in your stance, you can face whatever's in front of you without being squared up. So, if you're standing straight up, you take it now. I fight southpaw, because I got all sorts of injuries to my hands in different situations, but a little bit ambidextrous. But if just suppose I'm a conventional fighter, right? And I'm trying to square up in a conventional stance, right? I'm standing square right here. I take my left foot, take a step forward, maybe 45-degree angle, right? Get a little slight bend in my knee, but it's important I get that. And that's what's going to take my shoulders off the square, right? I take that step forward. My shoulders are now not leaning forward. I'm not leaning forward, but I'm off of that squareness. So that's still facing, and mind you, my toes, ladies and gentlemen, my toes are facing my the forward direction. So that's how you can stand in front of something without being squared up.
Okay. And in terms of like in terms of, you know, bending your hips and knees and hips position, heels, how is that important to a good boxing stance?
You have to have a looseness and a fluidity in order to generate that good kinetic energy. If you standing and locking your legs, your steps are slower. You know what I'm saying? First you got to unlock and then take your step. You got to, so just being loose and being kind of not bouncy movement, but just, you know, being bouncy enough to move. So you don't want to stand with your knees locked out. You just have like I said, a slight bend in your knee. You know, when you got that 45-degree angle on your foot placement. And, you know, truthfully, that's when squats will come in handy because, you know, as you begin to develop more, again, you got your stance, right? And you got your feet facing your 45-degree angle and you have your, right? If you can kind of squat pretty low, you can generate power on all sorts of different punches, whether it's your jab or your cross. So squatting or at least having the ability to kind of bend your knees while you're still in your stance or in a standing position is really going to help you when you talk about generating power for your punches.
Okay. So we're gonna move kind of up a little bit, talk about hand and arm position. So what's the importance of like tucking your elbows in or your forearm position um, in terms of your, you know, your boxing stance?
Now, again, all of this is relative to, you know, learning the fundamentals.
Right.
Because you'll learn how and why to do different things, but for all intents and purposes,
Right. We're talking about basic.
basic.
My first day in the gym. Word.
You don't want to be out here chicken winging because
Right.
you're gonna get hit in your ribs. You know what I'm saying? Get hit in your sternum, something like that. So those elbows is there to protect you.
Right.
And you know what I've always been taught is, you know, act like your armpits stink. You know what I'm saying? Keep
Tuck
your
them
armpits,
elbows in.
don't keep your elbows pinned to your body.
Okay.
But keep your armpits clenched. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Your
Okay.
armpits closed, but not with your elbows. See, people make the mistake of pinning their elbows to their body, and then you gotta take your elbow off your body. You just have to have your elbows covering your rib area. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's very important. And again, if you see, I'm trying to get my forearms, you know, straight up and down, and down.
All right. And then just in terms of briefly, in terms of like glove placement, I guess we're talking about for a right-handed fighter. Where would your left glove in terms of like your shoulder or your right glove, you know, where kind of would you keep it for a beginning fighter?
Now, again, a lot of people that we talked a little bit before about like high guard and that kind of thing, but just if you're just getting off and you're just trying to keep it basic, you want to make sure this hand is on the phone,
right,
but not necessarily close enough to be back because the glove is going to be bigger. You know, this is a little cheat, y'all. I shouldn't even be telling y'all this, but the glove is going to take up that. In a street fight, you want to make sure you have, you know, proper protection and you don't obstruct your peripheral vision. But with a glove, you can kind of keep your hand definitely not close to your face and maybe not as high as one would think because of all the stuffing. You know, say you got a 16-ounce, 12-ounce glove, right? So it's going to protect a lot of, you know, kind of surface area, right? But for the most part, you don't want to have your hands close to your face that this glove could hit you, right? So you want to have your left hand kind of out in front because if you're using your jab as a range finder or as an offensive tool, the further out it is the more you keep your opponent away from you, and also it's quicker to get off. And then as for your, you know, your counter hand, you don't want to keep it necessarily close to your face as one would think. You still got your armpits down, but you're also kind of, you know, away from your head, so you might could parry with it. You might want to, you know, bring it forward and parry with it if somebody throws a particular punch.
All right, well, listen, man, we always, you know, glad to go to school with them ABCs, got to take advantage of that free game. So we're going to do it every week. We're going to explore a different aspect and kind of just break it down to, you know, the ABCs or the, you know, layman's terms so we could understand. So we appreciate that. So, you know, at this point, as we always do, we talk about upcoming fighters, fights or significant like related events and info. So, you know, of course, we already talked about the Shakur Stevenson fight, but did you want to give a prediction?
Man, Shakur, he's got it. You know, it's going to go to distance. I don't never you know, put that kind of pressure. And they, you know, we learned that from Devin Haney. Let's stop putting pressure on the knockout fighters. Let's put pressure on fighters to fight each other, best fighting the best. How, you know, those you know, wins are obtained or how the losses obtained, let that be for the moment when the competitors are in the ring. So I'm definitely going for Shakur. I don't know much about Nakathila, but I would pick a Shakur anyway because I don't think there's many guys that could beat Shakur. So that's just, you know, another story for another day. Yeah,
another fight we got coming
too, right?
Another fight we got coming up, 10-round junior welterweight fight, Jose Pedraza versus Julian Rodriguez. What do you think about that?
Yeah, the sniper Pedraza. He's fighting, you know, and he's in there against Julian Hammerhands Rodriguez. Yep. So listen, I kind of can't go against Pedraza. You know what I'm saying? He's only really lost to Tank in, like, you know, in recent years. So he's been coming on strong as of late. Hammerhands is a good prospect, you know. So I mean, it's a good fight for sure. You know, if Hammerhands beats the vet, you know, and Pedraza, then hats off to him. But definitely, that should be an exciting fight for a co-feature.
Okay. All right, and we got a 6-rounder welterweight fight coming up. We hoping this one is exciting. We got Xander Zayas versus Larry Friars. So you already know I'm rooting for Xander in this one. You know what I mean? Check my Instagram. But what do you think about this fight?
Yo, it's gonna be a good Friars. I've heard the name before. Can't remember if he does anything particular, but like I said, he's been on the top ranked undercards. I know he did a lot of work last year in the bubble. So definitely a step up in competition for Xander. And it's gonna be, you know, definitely we should not put pressure on Xander to blow this guy out like he did the last one. Let's let Xander do, you know, whatever he does.
Okay. And I know you had another, you know, fighter, another Jamaican fighter you wanted to highlight before we got out of here.
You done know Jahi Tucker. He out on Long Island. Big up the man them. He about to do his thing, you know what I'm saying? So y'all gotta check him out, man. Go check him out on Instagram. Who is Jahi Tucker? You know what I'm saying? Always find my yard of brethren of them from yard to abroad and everywhere. So you know how we get down, man. You gotta watch that. So that might be on the ESPN Plus, but if you ain't watching for Jahi, you ain't down with me.
All right, so before we get out of here, I'm gonna encourage everybody again to catch my boy out on the Boxing Voice, you know, the one and only, and catch him on his blog. Get this free game while you can get it, you know, because when these dudes start to retire, you know, you're gonna have to pay him. You're gonna have to pay him to, you know, once he starts sitting in one of those big chairs, you're gonna have to pay him. So take advantage of the free game. And on a serious note, of course, we always appreciate everybody that listen. Continue to subscribe, like the videos, leave the comments, and of course, check out the blog and check my boy out on the Boxing Voice. You got anything to say before we get out of here?
Nah, man, for sure. Always appreciate it, man. You know what I'm saying? Tango and Cash, we always get it done, man. Definitely check me out on the Boxing Voice. Definitely on the flagship shows, and I'll still pop up on there on some other days, man. But definitely check me out on Instagram, King Amin of Essex. Check out the blog on the weekends. You know, I do the morning after, as always. So yeah, man. And thank you guys for hanging in there and watching, and definitely give us your feedback in the comments. And yeah, man, let's keep doing it.
All right, my brother. Always good to talk to you, connect with you about the sports. Let's take us out with the bell.
11th round. Give me some water.
100, bro.